Well,
Alrighty.
and actually, but
Yeah.
before we do this, we
Uh-huh.
should make an announcement about our 200th episode. So that
Yes,
way we
yes,
don't
yes,
wait to the
yes,
end. So if you want
yes,
to go ahead and take it away,
yes.
Miss
200,
Rail.
which is crazy to say. So this episode you're
No.
listening to right now is 196. So literally in 4 episodes, we'll be celebrating our 200th episode, and we're going to do another live episode. So we want you guys, it's going to be literally the Tuesday after Thanksgiving weekend. So what is that, 11:30?
The 29th. The 29th. 11:29.
29. Yeah.
11:29. We will be live 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. You'll see the link in our bio. We'll put obviously some clips up and things like that to remind you. But come kick it with us for the 200th episode. We'd love to see you. We'll have people coming in and out the whole night of the episode. So if you have a question for us, we'll bring you into the room. So, get camera ready, get your wig ready, because I'm sure we'll probably rock a little wig.
Get some tequila. Oh, Taco Tuesday too. Let's do wigs and tequila. Wigs and tequila. Hey.
Hey. It's 200 episode. What the hell is that? That's
wild.
Insane to say.
It's
We
wild.
got 200, and honestly, it would be like more than 200 because there's some in the bank that ain't ever gonna come out. There's some that we had a part B episode. So, but like officially, title wise, 200 episodes. So yeah, November 29th, the Tuesday after the Thanksgiving long weekend. Save a little tequila for us for that day, and come back with your aunties. Come with any fresh Ask Your Aunteas questions.
But there better be, because Thanksgiving was right before, so we want to hear about the family drama.
Yes.
Let us know
Who got kicked out,
who fucked up the mac and cheese, who ain't invited to the Christmas gathering. Because if you fuck up at Thanksgiving, you ain't coming back. You can't show up at Thanksgiving.
That's a wrap.
So
It's a wrap.
That is true. So yes, 11:29. Mark it on your calendar. 200th episode of Minority Report. Kick it with your aunties. All right, ladies. What time is it?
Ask your
aunties.
Okay, who wants to read it?
Not me, because I can barely talk.
I got it. All right. Hey, aunties. I know you're all in relationships, but you need to think back. Did you ever feel pressure to act more Masc than you actually are naturally? Not saying that you aren't or are. I find myself doing so at times and wonder if it's just me or others felt that. And excuse me, and what you've done to overcome that. Thanks. So the question is, did you ever feel the pressure to act
and stuff
more
like that?
Masc?
Actually, I have the times that I do is not necessarily my relationship. It's been in like maybe work environments, where I'm like, all right, girl, you queen out a little bit too much, wheel in a little bit. You got to be a little bit more professional. Or sometimes when I'm around a bunch of Black folks, not queer Black folks, but just Black folks. And I'm like, all right, wheel in just a little bit, because, some people still, have this old school way of thinking, and you're a Black man, so you got to be more masculine. So in those situations or scenarios, I tend to buck up a little bit, and just drop the voice a little bit, just kind of talk like this. And this is where my voice sits at, But other than that, this is how I sound like every day. So, it's just, you just got to be able to flip it a little bit. But within my relationship, no, honestly, I got a penis, he got a penis. That's Masc enough. So.
Did you ever feel it like when you were dating though, like say if it was like a first date, did you ever feel like you had to maybe mask it up a little more to kind of fill them out?
Actually, I will say yes. In dating, I have felt like, and that's kind of like the whole thing, like even with like bottom shaming and stuff like that. I feel like there's still this kind of shame towards, being too feminine, but let me tell you though, ain't nothing sexier than a femme top though. Let me tell you, I find a femme top, I'll be like, damn bitch, you fine, but I will say that I've had people, think not think, but I felt like I've been judged on being maybe not so as masculine, you know, as far as how I act. But then when people understand that, oh, nigga could dunk, I can play all these sports, I can do all these things, like I'm athletic as fuck, then that's when people be like, oh, well, he's okay. You
Yeah.
know, because that's, and I mean, that's how also, like, you know, growing up, that's was another way for me to also hang with a lot of straight dudes, you know, was to shut them up by putting up, like, well, guess what, my game speak for itself,
Yeah.
you know. So I've always had to ball harder, so that way the straight dude couldn't be like, well, little fat can't play basketball, he can't run track, or he can't do this. So that's why I learned how to be so good at sports, to so that way I didn't have to have my masculinity ever questioned.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. Like,
What about you, Carell?
yeah, yeah. Not as much anymore. I feel like I got enough of that throughout for so many years. I'm like, I'm just gonna always show or at least try to show more wider variety of me. Like Jarrell said, there are still moments where either at work or at the barbers, like now, like I'm back at a straight black barber shop where it's like, okay, I'm not gonna be like, okay, honey, because I love a little honey moment. I love a little girl moment. So I almost gotta catch myself. Sometimes I slip out, I'm like, girl. I'm like, oh wait, wrong environment, my bad. But I kind of like the yin and yang of myself. Like, I know I got a deep voice, I know all that stuff, you know. But then I like the moments where there is a little femininity moment and things like that. So I try not to harp on it too much anymore, and just try to be as much as I can. But there are still situations where you're like, okay, you're still filling out the environment, and maybe your go-to is to calm it down, maybe code switch a little, maybe deepen the voice a little, maybe whatever it may be. That that is maybe a guard for, you know, just, or maybe a defense mechanism still, that you just knew you had to do growing up sometimes, that still kind of just naturally comes out, because you just know, like Jarrell said, that there's still some folks that are still stuck in this masculinity versus femininity thing, and it has to present one way to them when there's could be, like we preach on here, a spectrum of ways to be, and it doesn't mean you're more than or less than. So I try to keep that a lot of times now. And I know some people are like, oh well, we heard your voice, and then you become with the toes painted, you'll have this on. And I'm like, yeah, like you're like, get all of me, you know, like.
I bet
And
they
if you
do.
don't,
Right.
hey, we'll say that for another episode. No, I say something too vulgar, never mind. But yeah, like, so I mean, I think it's natural, especially, and I was trying to think back just like when this came in, because it sounds like it's kind of more in a relationship setting of dating. Again, sometimes in that first date, you're still trying to figure it out, and sometimes the default might be, okay, let me mask it up first. Oh, okay, okay, great, okay, you got the little queen moment too. Okay, let me loosen up now, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, or even like situations in the gay, like you have like all these tropes and things within the gay community, and you do see where the mask for mask and things like that, and sometimes if you show that you have maybe a little queen moment, it might rub people the wrong way. And even then I'm like, okay, then you're not going to be part of my tribe. You're like, I don't want that. I don't want to feel like I have to put on anymore. Did that for so long that
Mm.
it is what it is. So long, that was a long-winded answer, but yes, I think it's natural to still kind of feel some of that because of defense mechanisms and trying to just survive in certain situations. But I think as you get older and in more situations, you realize the folks that matter are going to accept all the variation of you.
Yeah. I kind of feel like we all have both masculine and feminine traits,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
you know, and yeah, my personal experience is I feel like more of my feminine traits come out as almost a reflection of endearment. So like, you know, usually if I'm meeting somebody for the first time, I'm not girling them off the bat because I don't know you like that. Just like, you ain't my girl. Let me
That's a
see how
real
you act.
statement. That is
Let
a
me,
real
you know what
statement.
I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how you act. So
You said
like, I'm
hello.
not,
How?
so like, so, uh, like if I put, when, if I think back to like dating, yeah, let me put it this way. I don't think I've ever felt the pressure to act more masculine because I ain't got the goods to back it up. I'm sorry. Like, I don't play sports. I play tennis. I draw. Like, I like to go shopping. I like sipping cocktails. Like,
Sound like a good day to me
Right.
so like, I mean, it's not like it's not going to be this situation where like I'm faking my way and like, oh yeah, did you see the game last night and da da da, like all these quote unquote masculine things. Now I get the notion of like, oh, butching up your voice a little bit and like not having as much of a twitch in your walk or whatever. Like, I understand that, but I do think that part of, I'm not saying that those things should be hidden because you should be ashamed to like show, like, if that's how you walk, that's how you walk. But also I do feel like for me personally, a lot of those things are about comfort. It's about me being comfortable, and there are going to be moments where like I'm skipping along like like little Red Riding Hood, and there are going to be other moments where I'm walking tough. Like, let it be 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm coming home from the train.
Right.
I'm not going to be scooting around like Wendy Williams, in our high heels. It's not going to be happening. So I feel like there's a time and a place when you can and butch it up. I think where it becomes problematic is if you're going after people who prioritize a certain kind of projection of masculinity and that's not you, and that, and you're putting on an act because you want them to like you. I feel like that's a little problematic because you're setting yourself up for a situation that is only going to diminish who you are naturally, and that is never really a good situation to be in, and it's not sustainable. It's not a situation that in the long term is going to pan out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, a good takeaway is, don't be checking for people who ain't checking for you. Like,
Yeah.
if who you are at your natural resting state is not what someone's looking for, that means you are kind of like, to Dewan's point, you're changing for someone else, which is not gonna benefit you at the end of the day.
They checking
So
for you, then who's gonna check my boo?
right. So I guess one thing I like to always suggest, when we talk about people, when they talk about they have a type, or what they're into and stuff like that, keep yourself available and open to a variety of different people. Maybe the issue is, maybe the people that you are checking for aren't the people that align with who you are, and maybe you should be finding people who are more similar to what you're looking for and to who you are, and then accepting to who you are as well too. So
There is some self acceptance in that as well. Like loving the feminine aspects of your personality and allowing that to shine through. Like, that is, it's one thing that most people will say is that confidence is key.
100%.
And if you're comfortable with who you are, like Beyonce says, cozy in that skin, cozy with who I am, like, when you can accept all those aspects of yourself, it becomes easier to like not look for validation with other people, or not butch it up, so that other people will, find you desirable or whatever. But to your question of, like, does anybody else do this? Are you the only one that's doing it? No, you're not alone. You are not alone.
And let's keep in mind too, it be some of the masculine, most muscled people that be bent the fuck over, hooping and hollering, being like deeper, more, and getting turned the fuck out. So let's also keep that in mind too, that masculinity doesn't necessarily mean strength as well too, at all whatsoever. Like, And like y'all have gotten to know Fizz a lot more over the years and stuff like that. And when you first met Fizz, he is a quiet, very reserved, very masculine kind of passive person.
He dropped bitch and girl like in the first 2 minutes when I met him.
It's always when he does the shoulder.
Okay, look, okay. He'll be the first one to be in the wig. He'll be the first one put a blanket on, bitch, twirling around and shit like that. Yeah. But outside of what he show us, when he out at the bar, he just watching. He's quiet. He's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, like I don't know. There's just something freeing of not having to identify as masculine or feminine and just being.
Yes, absolutely.
If you perceive it as masculine or feminine, that's on you. I don't know what it is I'm doing. I'm just doing. And kind of getting out of your head, because like you said, like I think sometimes, especially in gay culture, we stereotype what masculine is, that it's going to be this muscle-bound man, it's going to be this furry human being, whatever it may be. And I've learned that the most masculine person could be what we sometimes present as a feminine thing. As long as you're living in your truth and you're just a stand-up human being, to me, that's masculine. To me, that's feminine. To me, like, that's just, you know, and like, I think we need to flip some of that on its head. And for the longest, I mean, for me, like, and I can't remember if I shared this on the podcast a few weeks ago, but it was cool for me, even I went back to Purdue to tailgate with a lot of my straight friends that I made when I first started my career. And it was cool, because it was the first time I was back in that greater collective like that, in that environment, out. And also one of their fraternity brothers being out and his husband being there as well, tailgating. And so to kind of bring a fuller version of myself to a tailgating situation in middle Indiana, white America in itself too, was so cool to me, because it had just kind of shown to me how far I've kind of come since the last time I was there, which was probably like over 12, 13 years ago, where I was still kind of like figuring myself out. And to go back into that environment and mixing this stereotypical kind of masculinity of a football game and a tailgating situation and things like that, but then hearing music on the song and being like, you know, and bringing a fuller picture of myself and not being afraid that at least my friend group would be like, bruh. What you doing, bro?
What you doing? Hey, and cut that out. You know, like,
I love.
Exactly. And
there is something really.
You still receive that love from them. That kind of breaks down a lot of that shit when you're just like, okay, this masculine, feminine thing. Once they still give you the love because they like, you know what, we fuck with Carell, period. That breaks down a lot of that stuff that you kind of carry along with your life. And still to be at 38 to still kind of getting those lessons has been very cool for me.
I love going back home to the Midwest and being as gay as I can, walking through the Target aisles and just like, you know, sashaying, picking something. Ooh, this is cute. Okay, I might have to put this in my little red basket. And dare somebody to say something like that. Like, when I think about the journey that I know that we all have had coming from, you know, the Midwest and trying to find acceptance in ourselves and how we are just authentically, naturally, however, like that is such a full circle, like gratifying moment to just be like, I'm going to be in Maple Heights, Ohio at the Kroger's and squeezing some peaches and just
looking at the eggplants.
I'm gonna make some pie with this. Like, just giving it, serving it, looking cute. Like,
yeah. And I think it's going to always be a life journey. You just don't know what's going to trigger sometimes. You don't know which environments that you haven't maybe confronted yourself with yet. So for me, like, that's why I brought the tailgate one up, because I was like, God, I haven't tailgated with this crew in so long. This is going to be interesting to be back in this environment. That's very familiar, but we've all gotten older, we've all grown,
Yeah.
and there's this aspect of finally being out and comfortable in that environment that I hadn't put myself in yet, honestly, because I haven't tailgated like that in forever, you know. So it was very cool.
Just don't beat yourself up. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you're going through some growing pains, and however that's manifesting for you, you know, you'll find the right path for you. You'll find that, you know, some of the antics that, you know, you tried don't work, or again, they're not sustainable, or, you know, they're attracting the wrong kind of people or whatever. You'll figure it out. But, you know, don't beat yourself up for, you know, like acting more or leaning, I would just say leaning more into your masculinity or whatever. You know, I would just hope that through whatever this moment of self-discovery and self-realization you're having, that you would take the moment just to acknowledge who you are and just start to appreciate like how you're naturally wired, however that ends up being manifested, however it is you express yourself. And, you know, if that turns some people off, it's, listen, even if you didn't mask it up, there are going to be things about you that's going to turn a whole lot of people off.
Yeah,
It's just, it's the nature of the game. And eventually you'll find, you know, people, a person, whatever, you know, that can appreciate you for exactly who you are and however it is that you show up.
especially
So
in a dating scene. If you get that vibe from the first date, Ron, get you another scene because
plenty of
don't let them
fish.
tell you that you're too femme or too mask or whatever in the first date. That ain't cool.
I've literally had someone tell me on the first date I was too nice, and I said,
Wait, too nice?
too nice." I was like,
Hmm.
I was like, "Damn, are you okay?"
You should have
Like,
said, "Well, get me to date
you-
number 2, so I'll show you how
said-
mean I really
I
am."
said, "What you been through?" Like,
You're like, "Have you seen these scabs on my knuckles?"
and that's my thing too. And I was like, "But I fight. What you mean I'm
So
too
you see this
nice?"
hyperpigmentation?
I was like, I was scared for myself. I was like, ooh, what your exes look like,
Must have been all Scorpios.
girl.
Sorry, y'all.
But that was a good question. So continue to
Yeah.
send your questions to ask your aunties questions to AYA at Minority Report.
Girl, one of these days you're going to get it right.
I'm not. In 2022, I gave up.
Yeah.
We'll start it in 2023.
Just flash a little graphic on the screen.
Yeah.
You need like a little thing, one of the little church fans with the sign on it that says "Send it here."
Right.
Like in the Looney Tunes when they're in the cartoons like this.
So true. It is so true.